right, where are we going next?
Hey, you ready for another round, shooter?
You think I'm gonna keep going after that? Can't do that.
2 steps forward, 1 step back. Or in the case of EA, they seem to want to go backwards as much as possible. But regardless, welcome back true believers and all you merry Marvelites to another very interesting video pertaining to the overall future of Marvel games. And in case you forgot, we're going to be talking about not just one, but 2 separate Marvel games which are currently in development by various gaming teams underneath the EA umbrella, which in this case directly relates to Marvel's Iron Man, which is being developed by EA Motive, as well as Marvel's Black Panther, which is currently in development by Cliffhanger Games. And recently, we not only received some very intriguing updates regarding both of these Marvel games, but we also got some rather questionable news relating to EA as a whole, and where exactly the direction of that company is headed towards, possibly for better or worse. So if you're excited to dive into all this Marvel game news with me, then definitely be sure to whip that like button and subscribe to the channel for even more Marvel games videos down the line. So in case you missed any of the recent news, we did receive an extremely lengthy presentation about the company's investor status directly from EA themselves, which did take place yesterday, which is pretty much EA's way of letting all their financial backers knowing exactly how well the company is doing in terms of revenue, as well as providing minor status updates pertaining to all their upcoming games, which for the case of this video, specifically relates to both Marvel's Iron Man and Marvel's Black Panther. And while we haven't heard any official news about either of these games for quite some time now, it sounds like the overall development for both of these projects is right on track.
So next in our lineup is Motive in Montreal, the studio behind the critically acclaimed Star Wars Squadrons and the Dead Space remake. This team has a breadth of capability and experience that perfectly positions them to develop our first title in the Marvel collaboration with Iron Man. The game will feature an original narrative and a unique take on one of Marvel's most popular heroes, Tony Stark, in a thrilling AAA action-adventure game. Next is our studio in Seattle, Cliffhanger Games, and its renowned leadership team, known for their innovation in action RPGs such as Shadow of Mordor. Black Panther will be a love letter to fans, combining vibrant characters, the world of Wakanda, an original story, and all new technology, delivering groundbreaking design and storytelling that will actually transfer across many games and studios in our company.
So while it seems like we may have to continue waiting to receive any new information about these games, or even be lucky enough to see gameplay of them in action, it's still nice to receive at least a minor update regarding both these games and how they're faring internally. Unfortunately, this is where the news starts to take a bit of a nosedive, and makes me feel a bit more concerned rather than excited towards the future of where EA is headed. So as this news was thoroughly summarized in a brand new article from GameDeveloper.com, they do go on to state EA desperately wants investors to know it's on the generative AI bandwagon. EA execs say the technology is at the very core of its business and could propel user-generated experiences to new heights. Now, given all the massive distaste that people have for AI nowadays, it's no surprise that this news as a whole isn't really being taken in the best of ways by the general public. But considering that this is actually game development we're talking about, and all the in-depth complexities that involve that medium, there could be a potential silver lining that is applied towards all this information. Although, I'll let all of you decide as to whether or not you think this is good or bad news. But to provide a bit more context to all this, is that taking the stage during the company's recent Investor Day, EA CEO Andrew Wilson spoke about how the technology is driving innovation within EA Studios, and said it has become the very core core of our business. Now, if you've watched any of my previous videos relating to these EA Marvel games, then the main name of Andrew Wilson should definitely sound familiar to you. Because not only has Wilson previously claimed that 60% of EA's development processes could be impacted by generative AI, and said the technology is something that the publisher is embracing deeply. In fact, those remarks came shortly after EA laid off 5% of its workforce. And on top of all that, it was also previously reported that Wilson did want to include more monetizable ads within their AAA games. In this case, would directly include both Iron Man and Black Panther, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. But to fully double down on that narrative is that Wilson said that AI isn't a buzzword for EA, and noted that the company currently has over 100 novel AI projects in development across 3 categories: efficiency, expansion, and transformation. Discussing the former, Wilson said efficiency isn't just about delivering cost savings, but rather doing what we do today faster, cheaper, and at a higher quality. That means driving more iterations, more testing, and high-quality content for our communities. It means removing obstacles for our game developers. It means culturalizing content across geographies, so they can focus on finding more fun for more players around the world. The lowering of these friction points leads to deeper gameplay experiences, whereas expansion is about giving our creative teams an exponentially bigger canvas upon which to create, and richer colors so they might paint more brilliant worlds. It's about our incredible teams creating characters with more depth and intelligence, telling stories that are more personal and nuanced, and bringing more authenticity and deeper immersion to our already unrivaled sports experiences. For years, we have talked about our games delivering experiences that are always new and different. We predict that with generative AI, we will truly be able to fulfill this promise for billions of people for billions and billions of hours. Now, this is pretty much the general gist of what Wilson was talking about during this investors presentation. And if you want to watch the entire presentation for yourself, then I will be sure to leave a link to it in the description below. But pretty much what Wilson is trying to say here is that he believes that the implementation of AI within all their developers will potentially lead to higher quality game output. And in my personal opinion, I honestly view this as both good news and bad news. In terms of the good news, Wilson is pretty much trying to say that EA is going to be implementing easier tools that all these developers can use to have them be able to create all the games that they're making more efficiently and in a less complicated manner. Especially considering that we're recently seeing the exact same thing with the brand new PS5 Pro, which is going to be using AI upscaling, which is going to make the visuals running on the PS5 Pro look even better and run even smoother, which is simply just an internal development tool that Sony is using to have the PS5 Pro console be an even higher quality platform, which seems to be something rather similar that EA is trying to implement. But on the flip side, I for one am absolutely against this decision from EA if this means that they're going to be prioritizing AI rather than all their hardworking developers, mainly taking into consideration Wilson's quote of having the games be made at a faster, cheaper, and higher quality. And if that doesn't directly indicate the main usage of AI, then I don't know what does. In my eyes, EA has had an extremely rocky track record throughout these past few years, and for me, has only recently started to regain my trust with the releases of these Star Wars Jedi games, which I think are utterly phenomenal. And everything that we've heard so far about Marvel's Iron Man and Black Panther does sound rather promising. But if they're going to start fully involving AI above everything else within their game developers, then they have simply took a massive step in the wrong direction. And I can only hope that all the higher ups within EA will start to reflect on their decisions going forward, and make sure to choose to do what's best for all the hardworking developers first and foremost. But nonetheless, we're just gonna have to wait and see as to what exactly EA's plans are for all of these future projects. And with all that said, everybody, that's the video I have for all you today, and please let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. What do you think about all this crazy news from EA? And if you had to choose between either Black Panther or Iron Man, which Marvel game are you more excited for? But as always, everybody, thank you all so much for watching, stay merry Marvelites, and until next time, peace out.